Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of Stuck Between Rock and a Hard Place. I am my co-host here, Jay.
Happy New Year, all.
And I am Greg. And today we are going to kick off, being the new year, a lot of people out there, myself and Jay included, is the time that we kind of finish up the projects if we haven't done already. And then we're going to reorganize, clean up the shop, and make sure we're laid out and ready to go for the new year. But that can be kind of a controversial topic, whether how you do it or when to do it and different processes to go through. So we wanted to come out with this episode to kind of help you weigh into how we go through it ourselves and how we prep the shop and get ready for the new year, and maybe even just finishing up the next one project and rolling into the next project, and how we make sure we're organized and ready to go, so we're not wasting time out there trying to find stuff or work around to find space in the shops, because no shop's ever big enough.
Yeah, see, I like to get all my projects done. 2025 is past. I like to clean up, get things out. If you haven't seen, our last podcast talked about getting rid of a lot of the things that you don't use for the turn of the year, and here we are now. And this is all about, for me, organization. Getting that workshop ready to go for whatever projects I have in the future, and to look at and do a little bit of an audit of what you have in your workshop. Is it working for you? Is it efficient? We talk a lot about the flow of how your workshop is, and does it fit you and the the things you want to get done this year?
Yeah, workflow is definitely one of the main ones I address every year, to make sure that the way I have my tools set up is the ideal way that my workflow goes, so everything moves in a manner that keeps me organized and efficient. And I will tell you, for the first time probably in a long time, I'm pretty happy with the way my layout is. But tools are everywhere. I need to go ahead and get them back in their proper homes, as well as, if you're anyone like me who happens to have tools that you do lend out, tracking those tools down, because how many of those times do you look around, you can't find the tool, and you end up going to buy a new tool. You buy it, and then that one comes back, from whoever you lent it to. They finally return it. Now you got two of this tool. It happens a lot, unfortunately, but it is an excuse for me to go out and buy tools, because, I never do that, ever.
That's what I tell the wife. But again, we have to get those tools back from neighbor Bob, and the last thing you want to do is start a new project and not know where your tools are. So it's a great time of the year to really look into what your workshop looks like. What do you need to improve that space to make it more efficient and more, the way you like to work?
Yeah, and that's a personal preference. So how do you utilize your organization in your tool shop? Are you a pegboard guy, cabinet, drawer? What are you in your system?
Well, I'm all visual. I like to see everything out in front of me. I like to be able to catch and know where my tool is at a moment's notice, whether a tool's missing. What do I need to do if I need to send somebody else down into my workbench to find out what it is? I want them to be able to see it, and I want to be able to know that there's a spot missing, maybe on my board, and put that tool back when I'm done with it. Otherwise, I may be the person just leaving it out, putting it on my workbench and not getting this thing organized, so the next project's even more difficult. I am a wall tool guy. Mm-hmm. That's where I like to start. I have this, and if you've seen some of the other podcasts, I always talk about my hierarchy in life. Well, the hierarchy in my organization would definitely be starting with the tool wall, and I would do tool walls over drawers any day, because I have many drawers where, like we just like to say, where tools go to die. Yeah. They're not labeled, so I like to see them up on the walls. If I'm forced to do drawers, I definitely do drawers over shelves, because when I do shelves, I inevitably end up putting something in the back of the shelf and something in front of it. big no-no. That one in the back will never get touched. And then if I have to do shelves, I like shelves over cabinets. I'll use cabinets for big things, but cabinets hold too much for me, and I don't like to pack things in. And I seem to, at the end of projects, very excited about a new project. At the end of it, I just want to clean it up. That's a little bit of my hierarchy. Well, Greg and I always talk about how our dads, tell us, we learn a little bit from them. They tell us some things that we keep in. Well, one of my things my dad had always said was, everything has a place, and there's a place for everything. Well, that's an old Ben Franklin quote, so even you history buffs are going to be interested to know that, he was, there's some organization even back in the day for the things, and we know how many things he created. So, there's something to that. What we need to do is we need to use that same kind of concept now in our lives. And that is, let's get it cleaned up. Let's use the things that work well for us and make sure that you're organized and ready for that next project.
Now, in my shop, it's a little different. I'm a blend of everything. And it's kind of because I have 3 different setups, right? I have my utility room, which is like my everyday quick little fixes here and there, my fishing equipment where I work on my lures, changing hooks and stuff. That I have a pegboard system with a few drawers, just 2 workbenches put together. And that seems to work out pretty well for that, just because I don't have that much stuff. When it comes to the woodworking side, and you'll see probably in our earlier podcast when we shot over there, even though there's chaos going in the background because it's active, I'm always building stuff, but there's cabinets that I use, there's drawers in the workbenches that things get put away in, and underneath the benches there's also open kind of cubbies that the bigger tools go into. And there is cabinets, and each one of them has kind of their own thing. The cabinets I kind of already know where everything's at, so I can tuck things away. Visual stuff are mostly like my power drills that I'm using constantly in every project. So I'm just constantly grabbing those and putting them back, grabbing them, putting them back, because they're used on every project. The other workbench has my charging stations, so I can quickly throw batteries on there. And then the drawers have tools that I go to quite a bit, but I don't want things on my workspace. So I feel like if I have a drawer, I can just open it, toss it in there, shut it, and I know where they're at, so I can find things pretty quickly. To your point though, if somebody else is in the shop working with me, I have to constantly tell them where things are. And then lastly, I do have cabinets, and that's more for my overflow of my like consumables, right? Like my sandpapers, my shop towels, shop rags are all kind of organized in there. One off to like the biscuit joiner.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that guy barely gets used, so I tuck it away when I don't need it, pull it out when I do. So that goes into a cabinet. And then I do have my flammables cabinet with my finishes, my stains and stuff like that. So that's all organized in there. Now, when you come over to this side, which is my mechanics side, as well as my metalwork side with the welding table and the welding cabinets over here and welding cart, everything's in drawers. Minus the hutch that has, I'm sure you guys are going to call me out as soon as I said everything's in drawers, and you look at this back wall and you're like, yeah, that's clearly not true. But these are like my grab when I need little things here and there that I use quite a bit. But I feel like mechanic tools live pretty easily in drawers just because of the way that shop organization's been developed for mechanic tools. It keeps things laid out. You can tell when something's missing because it's not in its spot, and I'm able to keep that there and organized and not lost. And I know each drawer, what it is and where to find it. So I kind of blend them all depending on what I'm organizing here.
Correct, but I think you said it actually perfectly for our audience today. I mean, this is a beautiful unit. I mean, absolutely beautiful unit. It's got everything you need into it. It's compact. It's large enough to take all the automotive tools. You know where it's at, but that's kind of why we're doing this today, because one of the biggest things you have to do when you're organizing is figure out the kind of person you are. Okay, I mean, are you the kind of person who can remember every single tool that's in every single cabinet? So I mean, I don't want to tell people to go too far, but you need to know who you are and what kind of habits you have in life and in the workshop. It will make my life easier doing every project, knowing who you are and what you'll need at the time, which lays into the organization. I like to put it as you need to look at yourself, and you need to look at people, need to look at their cars and their closets. Okay, I've said this all the time. The type of person who keeps their car clean will keep their closet clean, and we've all been in some of these cars where people keep them immaculate, right? But I've been in a lot of places where people use a closet to hide things. Okay, if you're that kind of person, you're going to hide stuff in drawers. You're going to want it off your workspace, but you don't care where it goes. Next time you want to find that, you're not going to be able to do that. So you may be the kind of person who loves organized chaos. That's a little bit of me, okay? But I had to break away from that a little bit and use my love of the visual to keep myself organized, along with labeling those cabinets and drawers. Nothing wrong with that, and we don't want to push you away from your natural tendencies. But when you try to get organized, don't be afraid in the new year to change it and to give yourself a new start and maybe keep yourself organized going forward. As I stated, if you have shelves, and put one thing on the shelf, don't be putting two things behind it just because it fits. Make sure that that's going to be something you can use in the future and that will keep you efficient in your workshop. So those kinds of things are out there. We talked about being visual and with the pegboard. There's a lot of things that are wrong with the pegboards. Pegboards get old. They crumble out the holes. But there's a lot of new innovative ways to use a pegboard. My biggest pet peeve with the pegboard was always the accessories, the hooks. They would fall out. What would they do? They'd hook on with the tool
you pull off one, and the whole thing comes off and comes crashing down.
Exactly. And there's little innovations out there that can help save your pegboard if that's what you're attached to. One of them.
You were showing me that.
One of them is a hook. Is a little. It's a
clip.
It's a clip that would go on each one of the hooks on your pegboard and would use the adjacent holes to hook into, making sure that hook stays in place every time you're pulling off your tool. Game changer.
Yeah, you just showed me it, and I already went out and I'm looking for them. And if I find them on Amazon, I'll leave a link to those below. If I do find them, if you do use that link, it does help us out with no extra cost to you, but we really do appreciate that. But yeah, because that was my biggest hang up was I use the pegboard for my fishing, and all my soft plastics I'm hanging on there, and you have a row of soft plastics. You take the front one off, and they all come crashing down. That thing's going to hold it in place now.
Yep, and there are innovative things that are coming out to replace the pegboard. One of them, they have wall
Perfect
units.
example right here.
Absolutely, you can see how you can hang
the
each
hooking
one.
mechanism here are more slots now rather than the pegs, so they lock in place better. But you've actually also saw for your packouts, right?
Oh yeah, so there's these new type of Packout tool cases that are made to pack within each other on rollers, but you can also place them on wall units now. They have big plastic screw-on kind of wall units that you can snap these build-outs onto.
Yeah,
and they basically will then be able to be put up on the wall, visually see right through them, because each one has a hard plastic casing that you can see everything that's inside of it, and it's removable at the time. I think those are extremely important.
You being a Milwaukee guy, the Milwaukee ones have, a lot of them have that clear top, so you can actually see what's inside there. I have the older version, the DeWalt ones that are, I think one has a clear top, the rest of them don't, but they do have a slot that does allow you to label it at least. So I have like my general box. Back when I would, be working on a job site, I had my general box that went to me all the time, every time. My, electrical box when I'm working on anything like that, my plumbing box, and I could grab what I need, but I couldn't directly see into them. So yeah, the Milwaukee ones seem to, as well, I'm sure they're DeWalt's now. Everyone copies everyone, so they'll probably come along, but the Milwaukee ones are sharp, nice, especially if you're somebody who doesn't work so much in a shop, but you're going to places. Those things are awesome. as well as you can take that same system and, fill up your transit, build essentially a mobile workshop back there, and those things work great in those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the innovations that are coming out with some of these, you're able to put them in the back of pickup trucks these days, where you can put them up on the side, of the tailgate. I thought that was impressive.
Yeah.
I thought that was excellent for those who want to travel and not have to throw their stuff on the tailbed, take up more space. Yeah. And it's visual, once again, where you don't have to go through one by one of your toolboxes that are, let's say, enclosed without being able to see through them. You can actually see right into your tool, which tool that you need, or if it's labeled correctly, you pull it off the side. You're back to the job. Mm-hmm. Seconds instead of 20 minutes of trying to figure out where it's at.
Another innovation too to tool walls is the migration away from the pegboard system to the French cleat walls.
Oh yeah,
that really allow you to change and adapt to whatever you're doing. When I first started woodworking back when I was a little youngster, I was exposed to French cleats to like hang cabinets, maybe heavy shelving. Now that being incorporated into these tool walls is huge because of the way that you can take it and structure it the way you need. You can put big stuff on that.
Yeah, I mean they have full out builds on these that you can look at online where you can get a fold out table, workbench. Yeah. You can literally put up cabinetry if you want, or you can hang your entire garden tools on these. And what I love about them is you can literally do an entire wall in your garage of this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There is no limitation, or I guess suppose the only limitation would be the price you want to go ahead and pay, but that's relatively cheap compared to what we're talking about with some of these newer items, or maybe this unit here. Yeah. You're gonna have to save up a pretty penny to get this. Although this is some of the best things that are out there at this time. Durable, will last forever. You're gonna have to figure it out. Your workspace is very personal.
Yeah.
Your workspace is who you are and how you're going to go about getting your projects done. In my view, I want to make sure that my wife, my children, anybody I send in there is going to be able to find the tool that I'm looking for if I can't be there on the spot, or if an emergency comes up, and they'll need to get their tools for themselves. As I do train my son to go ahead and do things, it's a lot nicer when he can go and find those tools and take care of the whole project himself instead of calling Dad down there to figure it out where it's at.
I'm in a different situation where if I'm sending him, I'm telling him, yeah, it's to the right of the whatchamacallit next to the doohickey, because I know where it is, but it's not properly labeled. And that goes back, I wanted to ask you, you said you do the tool wall, which everything's kind of visual, but you do kind of work down, and there is a place for cabinets or shelving. And I wanted to ask, so are you putting them like just on the shelf or in the shelf of the cabinet, or are you putting them in cubbies or storage?
All right, Greg, and this is a great little transition here. We talk about these big units that we're talking about, or changing your whole workspace. Now, you may need that, but if you don't, there's a lot of little accessories that you can get. Small boxes, some of the some of my favorite are the 8x10 plastic boxes that you can put on top, and those can be labeled and then placed on your shelf, making it exceptionally easy, and maybe you don't even have to change your whole setup. But what you have done is organized it to the point where, hey, where are my sanding blocks? Sanding blocks right there that you can not only can you see through it. How about maybe if you need your wedges, or you need selective files that are only specialized for the woodworking. These things are beautiful organizers, and you can get them extremely cheap. And again, put them the way you want them in your workspace. What we're trying to kind of portray to you guys is that organization isn't just about how you do it, but it's what projects you're going to be doing, and location is important, efficiency is important, and ease of use of everything is very important. So when we talk about, hey, you have a space for your wood stuff, You have a space for your automotive. It's a lot easier to separate all that stuff and keep it separated and keep it organized when you plan ahead.
So now, is it your personal preference on the containers for them to be clear, or because we all know they're really popular now? They're at like Costco and Home Depot. It's the black with the yellow tops. The bigger, they have a smaller version now too, but you can't see into them. So, do you mind those? I know you label, but then you can't visually see if it's there or not.
Well, again, I think the workspace, consider it your living room. You got to be comfy in it. You got to, what's going to help you move this project along? What's going to help you make finding your tools a non-trouble issue?
Yeah.
These again, as workers that we do our own things, we just need to get to our tools one way or the other. So what works for you is exactly where you need to go. You need to know what kind of person you are. I think it's the difference between maybe my wife, who's OCD, where everything has to be perfectly in its spot. Okay, or do you want to? Are you a little like me, who likes to work in a little bit of organized chaos? Okay, a little bit of organized chaos anywhere doesn't hurt anybody, but somewhere in the middle you're going to fall. So what I would say is, no, it doesn't bother me at all not to have a clear casing, but I need to have it labeled.
Yeah.
And what I find out is that by labeling it, whether that be some of these nice little labelers that you can put the actual name on it, color coding. Okay, it has worked in the past. Make sure that you have it labeled and where it should go, not just on its box, but maybe the location. Yours here is very clean. Somebody wants that clean look. That's excellent. Me, I wanted the box here labeled. Right underneath it is where that tool goes. So I know I'm not putting the jigsaw, okay, where my router should be. It actually keeps me focused and refocuses me when I decide, hey, because at the beginning of a job, we like to set it all up, have everything. There's a lot of excitement. At the end of a job, it could be a really difficult job. You just want things cleaned up. And sometimes you just shove them in the wrong spot, and that's where you're going to get in trouble on the second job. So if I have it labeled here, I'm going to take that tool and put the right tool there. It's going to make my life a lot easier later. And it's just one step you can do to get yourself organized.
And when you're working on a job, that's one part that I've actually adapted on, mostly on the automotive side, is I do have like rolling tool carts now that I come to this, I pull out the tools I need, I put it on the tool cart, I go over to the car, I'm working off the tool cart now. When I'm done with the project, the cart comes back and I put them back. And to your point, when things are labeled, or like the mechanics, I have these tool storages of, the slots for my sockets. I have my wrenches lined up, and I know I can visually see where it belongs, and to your point, it forces you to put it back where it goes. And having the tool carts, it makes it easier to come and go and put it back. All the tools I used are in one, they're not scattered around the shop, and I'm searching where I put them down. And it just makes things more efficient, not only in the job, but more efficient as well at the end of the job for the cleanup.
Oh, Greg, that's just such a perfect point. And I mean, it's a great place for people who want to start and say, hey, guess what? I have my things organized right now. Well, what can I add to it? A tool cart is fantastic. I mean, we want to go back to, again, what our dad said. I'm sure your dad has said this. Don't put that tool in the grass. Don't put that tool down. Have it where you're going to be working. Don't put it in a corner. Don't take those tools outside of the workroom. Tool cart's fantastic. Oh, yeah. In fact, I think you can have maybe one or two added to a workbench.
I have multiple. I have my one I use mostly with my tools. I have the one that really I use for my parts that I'm working on, so it has the part cart. And then I actually have this guy that I like. I can wheel right up, so as I'm working on the car, I can lift it right up to the truck's level, get in there, put it down, and be able to reach it, not having to get down and down on this little step up. But the other thing is, too, at the end of the job, it forces me to put things away, and then maybe when I'm putting through and all of a sudden I see a socket's missing and it's not in the tool cart, now I know I left it in the truck and I'm not driving away, and guess what? That 10 millimeter is gone forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to stress out to all our viewers is that, there's going to be people who are deciding to, scrap everything and start from scratch, or you're going to modify your workspaces. It's just a good thing to get organized for the new year. And with that being said, it's really important to know certain things about where your workspace are. Where are your electrical outlets? What are we going to be able to get ventilation in the room if you're doing a lot of woodworking? Where are you going to have your vacuum set up so it's easily accessible for each one? A lot of times, if you're going to get yourself a new workbench, one thing I have done in the past is I don't like benches with. I like my benches to be open at the bottom. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't like to have drawers under too much of my benches that I'm actually working on, because I like to be able to slide things underneath it, whether they're chairs, whether they're extra tool places, or if I want to go ahead and put my larger equipment under there. That's something that you can think about when you're organizing your workspace. It's all about efficiency. We talked about this right in the beginning of this. It's all about flow, about getting that right feel. The one thing you don't want to run into is your project stops. Yeah. Right there, because you either have to find this tool that you can't find and have no idea where you placed it, or did you lose it, lend it out, you have no clue. It's a lot easier to have this stuff done and do it once and then just maintain your workspace. Yeah.
Now, with your tools that you're talking about, that you want to make sure you put them back into place. One thing that I've gone back and forth, I've used them, I've thrown them away, and come back to them, is the blowout cases that the tool actually comes in, especially like your drill kits always seem to come in the hard case. Well, now they're getting cheaper. They're giving you the tool bags, but some of your higher end, or some of them are still holding on, is the hard case tool. Do you keep those? Is that where you store your tool, or does it depend on the tool?
Well, it depends on my space. I mean, I think the other thing that we haven't spoke about yet is not everybody is sitting on, a 2-car garage. Sometimes, somebody's workroom could be a closet. Yeah. You need to know what space you have. Some of those organizations that come with the tool things are beautiful, and you could slide them right into a drawer. Yeah. So you're gonna decide. I am not that person. I usually, when I replace a tool, I've already had a place for it. So I usually will take it out, put it, what I'm used to doing with it. However, it's going to depend on your space. It's going to be depending on your space and location of where you're going to do your jobs.
Yeah, for me, those boxes I've gotten away from, because you're talking about the space that they take up, especially like the power drills. I have a spot now where I can visually see them, and I use them so much. I don't want to pull a case out and open it up every time. Now, I might have to revisit one of our old podcasts about getting rid of stuff, because then I hold on to the case and I just have empty cases sitting everywhere, and now I'm wasting even more space, but I'll work on that. We'll get there. Now, the tool bags I do use for other things, like, the ratchet straps in the truck, they're perfect for that. Throw them in there, then they're organized. So you can take some of that stuff and use it for organizational purposes that actually help in other ways, but once to your point again, you got to remember what's in that bag. You can't really label them very well, and you can end up throwing things in there, and it's even worse than a drawer, because now it's a mobile drawer that things were thrown in there, you don't know what it was, and that bag disappears.
Correct. I'm going to go back to the whole idea that it has to work for you. And some of these bags, while they're great for transporting, maybe when you bring that bag gets empty, and you're placing that tool back in an organized state in your workshop. But I can't stress enough that when you decide to get organized in your workspace, you want to make sure that you are looking at the size, layout of your workspace, and are these things going to fit? And there are going to be times you're just going to have to get new tools. I don't need 4 hammer drills, and I certainly don't have the space for it. There are people who have 2-bay or 4-bay garages that they can have 3 different workspaces. Some people don't. Some people have a closet that they're working out of, a much smaller area. With that being the case, when you do go to reorganize things, make sure you keep in mind the things like where your electrical power is coming from. Do you need safety, things like an extinguisher somewhere around? Are you going to have enough ventilation if you're doing the woodworking?
Or special welding.
Special welding tools. Are you going to have a heater that you're going to have to place, in your workspace? These are all things you have to do to make sure that it's a flow, it is efficient, and that the project that you're going to be doing is going to be the focal point of what you're doing in the time that you have. Everybody gets behind with projects. One of the reasons they do, where's the tool? Do I have the tool? I knew I had the tool, and now the tool's gone. Okay, does neighbor Bob have the tool? Did my kids return the tool? These are things that can easily be taken care of by good organization in a workshop.
Yeah, and it's huge because when I started doing YouTube editing my build videos, I realized how much time is wasted of me trying to search for a tool or the tool I just put down because the shop is destroyed and I can't see it in the pile of stuff that's already out there.
Right.
And it just takes away from your efficiency. Sometimes it takes away from your enjoyment too of doing the process. So there's a lot of things that go into it. I think you hit the points really good about the way each person lays out their shop. One is essentially dictated by your layout and the way it's already been done, where the outlets are, where your access points are, and your space. But two, the type of person you are, your personality. Are you like Jay, who likes it visual, or you like me, tucked away so I'm not as distracted by things and I can stay more organized? Because if there's a lot out there, I feel stressed and cluttered and distracted. So hopefully this video helps you guys kind of think about getting into the new year and how you can better make your shop efficient, workflow better, and let's face it, avoid having to buy a tool you already own because you can't find it. So that being said, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Leave in the comments below some of the shop organization tips that you guys found helpful that maybe we left out in our video, and you can help the viewers as well.
You know, a lot of times we're here trying to give you information, okay, to keep you out of that rock and a hard place that we talk about all the time. I mean, it's the name of our podcast, but there's two ways to get there. Sometimes we find ourselves there, okay, but sometimes we put ourselves there, okay? Yeah. Being disorganized is one way of putting yourself between a rock and a hard place, and that's what we're trying to pass on to get you thinking, get you out of that place. Hopefully you don't get there. So, Happy New Year.
Until next time, thanks for buzzing by. You take care.
Oh, in Milwaukee, if you're listening, please make this.